Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's The Con Guy, Comicon Prep Show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Con Guy Show. We are so glad you guys are here. We are your home for news and insider opinions from the world of Comicon, fandom, and pop culture. This week, we get a super cool behind-the-scenes peek of Sonic the Hedgehog with its new Super Bowl trailer with the co-writer of the film, Josh Miller. So glad you're here with us today. Katie gives us our convention updates. Ben gives us the news. Derek provides the bulletin board. Cheeseman is on the couch. And me? Well, I am one of the Knights of Ren. Let's address this right up front, guys. First of all, who do we have in the room?
Hi, my name is Derek. I'm a contributor to theconguy.com.
And I'm Katie. I am on social media for Con Guy, but also a host at AfterBuzz.
I am Josh Miller, the co-writer of Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie. Oh, wow. Applause.
Hey, everybody. My name's Ben Cleaver, actor, comedian, etc., etc. People ask me, Ben, why are you always drinking out of that red cup? Well, it's because whenever Ben Cleaver shows up, it's always a party.
And I'm
You
Cheeseman
killed it,
Culture.
Luke. You killed it.
And I'm the true life of the party.
Who are you?
I'm the cheesy one. I am Cheeseman on the couch with theconguy.com.
Oh, that's cool. You guys wearing some really cool shirts right there on the couch. I'm loving that right now.
I'm
got
the Terminator.
Wait, whose is yours? Is it just a Terminator
Yeah,
shirt? Mine's
Terminator
Monster
shirt,
Tees.
All right,
Friends
guys.
over at Monster
We are
Tees.
going to jump right into this. For those of you who may be turning in just because you're curious, thank you for coming, and we hope you stay on the show because we're a show of fans, for fans, and we try to do our best for the fans. But we did have a situation this last week. I would like to just read this prepared statement.
Yeah.
We prepared it.
Then I'll wipe that egg off that's on your face.
We are the Con Guy, and yes, the Con Guy got conned.
Oh!
Recently, we had a guest on our show who claimed to have been a stunt stand-in for parts of Rise of Skywalker as well as The Mandalorian. Love both of those productions. He claimed to have been one of the Knights of Ren stand-ins. He was introduced to us by colleagues in Hollywood who vouched for his truthfulness, and his IMDb page seemed to support his alleged work history. After being contacted later by multiple people from the production of Rise of Skywalker, including Anton Simpson-Tidy, one of the actual Knights of Ren, along with James Cox, a stunt actor who worked with the production, both of them the coolest guys ever, it has become glaringly apparent that we must now distance ourselves way far away from the claims made by our guest. It appears that even his IMDb page is being changed as we speak to eliminate his work history. We cannot in good conscience stand by any of the statements made by this guest, and we are removing all videos that contain him. We sincerely apologize for the confusion, and we promise to provide updates if we get them as we investigate this further. And we do promise, guys, we're going to do a better job of vetting. We thought we had vetted this guy as well as we could, but obviously not. We fell down on that. But thank you to everyone who did reach out to us and let us know. We could not do this without you, and we love you guys, and we're so glad you guys are watching the show.
Is my mic working? I was kind of surprised because all of a sudden we're all on a text chain, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden we're getting texts like, guys, stuff is blowing up about the guy from the show and blah blah blah. And I was like, what's going on? And it was like, this is blowing up on Twitter, and I'm like, oh no, because you think blowing up on Twitter. But honestly, like, most of the stuff was like, can't believe this guy would do such a shitty thing, blah blah blah. And as far as Twitter hate goes, it was not as nearly as bad as it could have been. And so I was just, I was really stoked that people weren't just like, these guys are morons. And like, there were some comments where they were like, were these guys in on it and that sort of stuff. And a couple of things
that was a very, very small minority who were even like remotely,
and it was mostly leveled at the guy who was on our show, not at us. There were a couple things I wanted to kind of clarify, because people are like, they need to up their vetting process, and yes, fair, that's very true.
Fair,
we do.
Yeah, it is absolutely.
The thing is, living in Hollywood, working in Hollywood, as pretty much all of us do, you kind of settle into this place where it's not like if you were in Laramie, Wyoming, in a bar, and you met a guy who's like, I was one of the freaking Knights of Ren. You'd be like, yeah, sure you were, buddy. If you're in L.A. and you're like, you meet somebody and you're like, hey, I was like a stand-in on Star Wars. It's like, oh, yeah, you probably were, because you run into people like that every day.
You swing a cat in a room, and you're going to hit a dozen screenwriters and actors.
And a dozen people who did have maybe a small part in that. And I think the hard to pin down thing about it was stunt stand-in for Knight of Ren is such a fuzzy area that you can kind of be like, yeah, I'll slip that in.
Yeah.
And IMDb, to be fair, is not necessarily like Wikipedia. You can't just throw anything up there. There is an approval process.
Yeah, like if you go to their FAQ page, they describe it, and there's like there are ways that you've got to provide stuff.
It's not a straight wiki.
But again, stunt stand-in for Knight of Ren is another kind of a fuzzy area that could have slipped through. So there was stuff that wasn't necessarily like we were just ignorant dummies who didn't do anything, but. Yes, fair enough. We do need to go. We do need to vet our vetting process a little bit better. And no, we weren't in on it.
No, we were not. And for the record, we did reach out to this guest repeatedly. We did speak with him, and we said, please provide us with the information to back up your claims and prove it. That was days ago, and he has disappeared off the planet. So
it's nice of you to give him a chance.
Oh. So we're not bad guys. By the way, I don't wish ill will. I just know that we, as a show, we cannot stand by any of the statements made by this person. I wish him well somewhere else.
Right.
So there we go.
To everyone who was responding and helping to try and correct the misinformation, thank you. And for those sharing the video, and we appreciate that so many people got exposed to us. We just wish that it was in better circumstances and not.
If you've
when we
never
were like,
seen our show before, and this is your first time because you heard about this, please stay. We're really cool people.
We have a lot of fun on this show.
Yeah, we do.
We
have a lot of fun.
promise. We're nice.
And please call us out when we make wrong statements, because we want to know that.
Well,
by the way,
can I jump in real quick? Sorry. If you did share that, please share the corrections too, so that we're not continuing to put out all the stuff.
Yes.
Some of the angry Twitter rants we did see were people just bashing J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, saying, "Oh, it was another horrible idea," or "It would have been better if they'd done that." And we're not going for that kind of thing.
No,
we're
we're
not
not.
about the rage here. No. We're about just celebrating things that we love.
Yep. And speaking of celebrating things that we love and people we love, we have somebody we would love to celebrate. The guy that keeps it all running for us, Ryan Nielsen and the booth. Hello, Ryan.
What's going on, y'all?
Look at you with the glasses on already.
Yes, already.
He's got glasses on.
Oh,
look at that.
Just following up on that. Yeah, we sincerely apologize. We're gonna get. We'll prevent that in the future.
Yep.
And it's just a small little smudge on a perfectly awesome show. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. We're gonna have an amazing show. We're so excited. We have the writer Sonic the Hedgehog here.
And you know what?
Wait, Ryan. We don't know for sure this is actually the right.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell so many lies.
We will
you
put him
guys.
through the ringer.
But you know what? We'll go one step further. Oh no, I dropped my paper. We'll go one step further. Everybody who tuned in tonight's show, the show is free. Show is free tonight.
Aw,
So
can we
there you
afford
go.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we can, but
Everyone
the
who tuned in
fans
tonight's show,
deserve it.
All
you
right.
are now a Knight of Ren.
Speaking of the
Not
show,
really.
we have the next section of the show that we are so excited about, because there's a lot of news happening. A lot of news came down the pike this week. Ben, this is your time.
And the Kansas City Chiefs have won the Super Bowl. Oh.
Woo, yeah.
All right. Can I get a timer? The timer's behind me this
Yeah.
time.
The timer is behind you, so it might be a little more
Somebody's got to keep me honest
difficult to do it. But I'll count you in. All right.
here. Joe Buck.
We got you in. We got you in. 5, 4, 3,
Here we go.
2, 1.
The 2020 Super Bowl matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. That's Kansas City, Missouri, Mr. President. Wrapped up 102 million viewers. Later in the show, we'll go over the most popular trailers that got the geek world talking. HBO has gained acclaim and awards for its hit series Watchmen. And even though HBO would love a second season of Watchmen, creator Damon Lindelof told Deadline that while he's not currently developing a second season, he's completely open to the possibility of someone else taking a crack at Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' DC comic book. I never want to close the door completely, says Lindelof, because if 2 or 3 years from now I say, I just had another idea, it will be that much harder to open. But I would say it's barely ajar. By the way, Doomsday Clock from DC Comics that came out over the past couple of years was pretty brilliant. Pick that up at your local comic book store if you can. Those party-loving 1980s bloodsuckers are back. Last year, Catherine Hardwicke, perhaps best known as the director of the first Twilight film, directed a pilot episode of a proposed new The Lost Boys series for the CW. Based on the 1987 vampire film starring a young Kiefer Sutherland, although the network didn't particularly like that pilot, they definitely still wanted a Lost Boys series. So they've ordered a new pilot, this one being directed by Marcos Siega, who also directed the pilots for The Vampire Diaries and Batwoman. In this new The Lost Boys TV adaptation, when a mother and her Gen Z sons move into a seaside town where she grew up, they discover there's a sinister reason the
90 seconds.
The local cool kids sleep all day and party all night, never grow up and never get old. Family bonds are tested as the brothers find themselves on opposite sides of a mythological struggle. Owen Whistle, is headed...
Wilson.
Owen Wilson. Did I say whistle?
Yeah.
Owen Wilson, is headed to Disney Plus. The Cars and Zoolander actor, is the new big-name addition to the cast of Marvel's Loki, the Disney Plus series starring Tom Hiddleston as the trickster demigod and the brother to Thor.
One minute.
No word on the exact role Wilson or Whistle will be handling, but it is a prominent character. Terminator star Linda Hamilton, Mandel Mon, is it Mon?
I don't know how to pronounce that last name.
Bajillion-dollar properties, and Canadian actor Alex Barima of The Exorcist are set for recurring roles opposite Alan Tudyk in Sci-Fi's Resident Alien, based on the Dark Horse comic series by Peter Hogan and Steve Parkhouse. Resident Alien follows Harry, Tudyk, a crash-landed alien who, after taking his identity of a small-town Colorado doctor, taking on the identity of the doctor, slowly begins to wrestle with a moral dilemma of his secret mission on Earth, ultimately asking the big
20
questions
seconds.
of life. Are human beings worth saving? And why do they fold their pizza before eating it? And that is 3 minutes of news. My name is Ben Cleaver. I'm a Knight of Ren. And the alternate ending to Star Wars Episode 9 was when Kylo Ren melted the Iron Throne with his fire breath.
I knew it.
Yep, it's true.
Congratulations.
Good
Good job, Ben.
It was really cool. The part of this news that I'm most excited about is that The Lost Boys is getting a second chance, and it is not dying because they didn't like the pilot from last year. Although we had a guest on the show, Scott Reynolds, who has told us about the script and said he loved it. So
If you can believe those lies.
lies, they're all lies. Anything stick out there that you guys thought was significant?
I mean, the whole thing about is it being directed or written by the person who wrote Vampire Diaries?
Directed. The director who directed.
director.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Because I mean, I love Vampire Diaries, so.
Yeah. So I mean, the Vampire Diaries. Brad showed us the pilot recently, or the end.
He
and then
showed you the ending.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. The ending, and he said this. You guys said it perfectly matched the pilot and how they set it all up, and I thought it was pretty classy. So
Yeah.
You know who did that too? Chuck.
I still have not watched that finale because I'm in denial that it ended. So
Oh, you gotta watch it. It's
I
so
know.
sad. It's so bittersweet.
that's what I've heard.
all right, returning for a second week with a brand new department. We are so excited. Katie's convention updates. Ow!
Oh, I was like, there's music.
Yeah.
All right.
Can we
so,
use that?
This week in my convention update, I'm talking about some of the conventions that are going on this coming weekend, or aka Valentine's Day weekend, and some other updates from WonderCon and San Diego Comicon. But first, Ben has told you guys about it. We don't mention it very much, but Gallifrey 1 is February 14th through 16th. It is at the Marriott Los Angeles Airport Hotel. It's a long name. It's, if you guys aren't familiar with Gallifrey 1, it is the largest and longest running annual Doctor Who convention. So it's very popular. It sells out within minutes, I believe.
Well,
right?
and they
Yes.
also have made it a point to cap it at like 2,500 or 3,000
Gotcha.
badges. Like, that's it. And they're like, we could go bigger, but we're not going to.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So you can't get tickets anymore, unfortunately, if you haven't planned ahead. You can't go, unfortunately. Same with resale tickets; those are also closed. But for future reference, the tickets this year were $110 for the weekend. So it's a little bit high, but not terrible. And
We need
then
to compare that to 360 or however
Yeah,
much.
to
I would call this
Comicon.
a boutique convention.
Definitely.
That's a
so,
good word.
and that's but this information is more for people who are going versus people who obviously can't go. Guests will include Christopher Eccleston, which this will be his first time in a while, back in the Doctor Who universe. It's pretty much the biggest news, I think, that's come out of the Whovian news and Gallifrey 1 news. Definitely. So he'll be there. That's probably going to be the biggest thing about this. Ben is going to get his photo opportunity with him, so that's pretty awesome. Also, the 5th Doctor, Peter Davidson, will be there, and a lot of the latest series, companions and guest stars throughout the whole history of the show. You can get VIP tickets, reception tickets, photo tickets. There's all sorts of add-ons you can get. You can check out Gallifrey1.com for all that information. And then I have to touch on parking because we all want to know, we live in LA, parking can be the biggest pain that when you're going to these things. It is by the airport. So obviously traffic's going to be bad. You can get parking at the Marriott for $15 a day, but it's going to sell out really fast. You can make reservations at some of the local parking structures, but recommended Uber, Lyft, bus, those things are going to be the best option. If worse comes to worse, you can park at the airport, but it's not going to be cheap. So any more info, you can check out Gallifrey1.com for that. So there's a lot of cool stuff.
Is this near the Burbank airport?
Yeah.
No.
LAX.
LAX.
By LAX,
LAX.
yes.
Yeah.
And then also in LA, there is a smaller convention called Orcon, I believe is how you pronounce it. It's the same exact time, days, but it is at the Hilton. So it's just right down the way. Across the street.
Also LAX?
Yeah, by LAX, yes. Tickets can be pre-registered right now for $55, but at the door they're $65 for the whole weekend. This is a gaming convention, pretty much exclusively a gaming convention. A reason I mention this is because we have some gamers here at the Con Guy who are interested in that.
And a special gaming theme tonight.
Yeah. So, some interesting things about this convention. There's a minifigures painting contest from 10 a.m. Saturday until noon on Sunday. Categories include fantasy, science fiction, historical, and then there's single unit or large unit for those, and then kids and teens competition. So you basically bring figures that you've painted and you can win a prize for it if you get in the top 3. There's more rules on strategicon.net. They also have board games. They have a rental area, so you basically have your ID. You can reserve any board games that they have there and play board games, which is pretty awesome. They have demo sessions, and
you should go.
The 2020.
This is my idea of the perfect weekend.
Are you going to do both?
Yeah.
Both con?
The 2020 Catan National Championship Qualifier. The finals will be on Sunday, and the winner will get an invitation to the Catan United States Championship at the Origins Game Fair in Columbus, Ohio.
Ta-da, Cheeseman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, if you're a
You
gamer.
weren't even paying attention.
I was Brad commented right when you were saying that.
Oh,
Sorry.
gotcha.
She mentioned Ohio,
How many
Luke.
viewers
Yeah.
we got right
So
now?
yeah, if you're a gamer, you can
tell?
check that out on Valentine's Day weekend as well. And then lastly, really quickly, we have Emerald City Comicon, March 12th through 15th. If you buy your tickets before February 7th, you can still get them mailed to you. So you will not have to go to will call. We all know will call can be a pain when you're going to conventions. 4-day passes for kids and adults are unfortunately sold out, along with Saturday, but Thursday, Friday, and Sunday are still available. They range from $30 to $45 a ticket for the day. And then press registration is now open for San Diego Comic-Con and WonderCon. So you can visit comic-con.org for more information. And the volunteer registration for WonderCon is now live. So just go to the volunteer tab if you log into the Comic-Con site.
For WonderCon?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
And that's a good way to go to the convention.
Yeah.
If you've never been, you can volunteer for a little bit and get a free badge for the rest of the day to do as you please. It's a good thing to do if you are low on cash. So, yeah. But that's that. That was a lot, I know, but
No, that's
that's great.
fantastic.
I don't know what we ever did before Katie was on this show.
I don't either. By the way,
thanks,
for
guys.
those of you who might be wondering, yes, we are going to actually talk with Josh Miller. We have some things to talk about with him. We're almost there. We're almost there.
I have to go, you guys.
No, but we got some really cool stuff to talk about. Derek,
Okay, so the bulletin board.
the bulletin board, which is for those of you who don't know, these are kind of the larger, more marquee cons. Katie is like helping us to get drilled into some of the more minute information, but this is what we usually go through right here.
Yeah, so over about the next 6 weeks or so, let's see. February 8th and 9th is Space Coast Comic Con in Cocoa Beach, Florida. And February 22nd and 23rd is Alaska Comic Con in Fairbanks, Alaska, which is the first ever Alaska Comic Con featuring celebrity guests Austin St. John of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Grey DeLisle Griffin of Scooby-Doo, Ben Templesmith, an artist behind 30 Days of Night, Dan Parent, an artist and writer for Archie, Die Kitty Die, and there are more to be announced.
Die, kitty, die.
Yes, I love that title. February 28th to March 1st is C2E2 in Chicago, Illinois. March 6th through 8th is Wizard World Comic Con in Cleveland, Ohio, featuring the cast of Outlander, Supergirl, Teen Wolf, and The Princess Bride. March 12th to 15th is Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle, Washington, which Katie already gave us some information about.
Has anybody here been to Emerald City Comic Con?
No. I have friends who are going. I'll see if I can get them to take some pictures for us.
Like Tom, he was here with last week, and he's been to it, and our friend Rick goes every year.
I've never been to it, and I've always been fascinated. That and Dragon Con are two big ones that I really want to
That's
get to.
first my list, the one I've not been to. Yeah, I really want to get to.
All right.
That's all we have on the list right now. Yeah.
Congratulations, Derek. That was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations.
We're just congratulating everybody tonight. It's such a good time to be here.
Are we sure he's really Derek?
All right. So
I'll never tell.
Yesterday was the big game, as they call it, because you're not really supposed to say the Super Bowl unless you are the NFL.
Superb Owl.
Did you know that? Have you noticed in all media mentions of it, unless you were Fox, Network, or NFL, it was Super Bowl, but everybody else had to call it the big game.
Are they that concerned about copyright that they don't even want people to give them free advertising?
No, the hammer comes down hard. That's why they have to call it the big game.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
We're officially calling it the big game Super Bowl. But there, we can say we had a number of Super Bowl commercials that kind of rattled us yesterday that were really cool, including one from ours. Well, not from you, but like we have a guest in the room who was associated with one very big trailer which dropped yesterday, the Super Bowl trailer. It was Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'd like to introduce our guest as we talk through this. Josh Miller is a screenwriter and producer. Some of his projects include 12 Deadly Days, the TV show Golden and Insatiable, Hulu's Into the Dark. You did an episode of that as well. Yes. Sonic the Hedgehog, which comes out February 14th, just 2 weeks, everybody. And then he and Steven Scarlatta are hosts of the Best Movies Never Made podcast. He's also the creator and host of Friday Night Frights, which is a movie screening series in LA featuring Josh's favorite horror films. And this week they present a werewolf celebration. Everybody, welcome Josh back to the show.
Hey, hello, everybody.
We're
Good
super,
to be back. Good to be back.
This is your second time to the show. Before you came in, and it was on the Scare Guy show, and we went through a lot of scary stuff. But we are so glad to have you back. I'm going to go over a couple, some of this list of you guys who did not watch the Super Bowl yesterday. Thank goodness. You didn't?
Katie?
No, I had work.
Oh, well, that's excuse me. 102 million people watched it yesterday, and they saw a lot of these Super Bowl commercials. So let's go through these, and then Josh, we're going to ask you a little bit about Sonic the Hedgehog's commercial, because it was kind of different. It wasn't just a straight trailer. Did you see the trailer?
I did, actually. We wrote some of the dialogue.
Okay.
I was wondering about that.
That was cool. That's cool. All right.
And also, I'm now inspired by your former guests that just tell big, huge lies. So I own the NFL, so you guys can call the game whatever you want.
All right.
You have my permission
Derek's
as owner of the
you
NFL.
in a little bit.
I call it the Grand Plate.
Yeah.
All right, Ben. In your opinion, what were some of the top commercials we saw yesterday?
Well, I'm looking at the list we have here, and without just doing a straight read down of it, some of the ones that stood out to me, like the Disney Plus Marvel series ad that came out for Falcon, Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Loki. I was like, yeah, Falcon, Winter Soldier, yeah, Loki, and then the bit for WandaVision came on.
So bizarre.
And I knew, because I've seen the comics for WandaVision, so I kind of knew what to expect with this like weird, like you said, bizarre kind of 1950s nuclear family, blah 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 type of thing, and it blew my freaking mind. I was super stoked about Falcon Winter Soldier, super stoked about Loki, WandaVision, whatever. Now I'm like all about WandaVision, and I want to watch that thing. So
did you notice they had Wanda in her comic book costume with the hat
with the crown thing?
But if you go back and look at it, it looks like she's in lingerie, walking down perhaps to have a night with Vision.
Perhaps.
So maybe that's their twist.
How do we know it's not?
We don't. We do not know what it's about.
A couple others that stood out to me: the Mountain Dew commercial with Bryan Cranston, and
that one I loved.
The Shining. The Bill Murray Groundhog's Day.
Oh, that
Groundhog's
was
Day
great.
is one of my favorites.
There's a longer version of it online, by the way.
Oh,
really?
Because
Because it was a whole minute yesterday.
It's
There's
like a
always
minute,
longer versions of
Yeah.
I mean, if you have Bill
commercials.
Murray for however many days they had to shoot that, you're going to shoot a lot of stuff.
And it was Groundhog Day yesterday, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yesterday.
Yeah.
So clever.
That's why
So
it's such
great.
perfect.
Did we get what was the result of the actual groundhog? Puxatani.
I'm
Phil.
gonna assume it's
early
gonna be.
spring.
Oh, really? Because
That was
it's
the
cold
word.
enough to think
Yeah,
that
and then
winter's
it
still
suddenly
gonna last.
got really cold
It was
in LA the next
75
day.
in LA, and then all of a sudden what is it? It's freeze warning tonight.
The Rick and Morty Pringles commercial blew my mind. That was great. Bree was in the kitchen, and Bree, my wife, and she loves Rick and Morty. And I was like, Rick and Morty Pringles commercial. And she's
I know.
like, oh, okay. And she missed the whole thing.
I
so
missed it too, and I'm so upset.
It was so good.
I saw it, but I couldn't hear it because our party was kind of loud at that moment. But the Jason Momoa one,
The Jason
people were
Momoa
quiet
one.
during that.
I
That one
haven't
was by
seen.
far.
I haven't seen it.
my
Why
favorite
is
one.
everyone talking about why it's like weird?
Weird.
What
It's so
was
weird.
it for?
He comes
Yeah.
in with his muscles, and then he takes them off. And
Yeah,
he
he
becomes
takes
a-
off
he's
his
like a
muscles.
skinny guy.
He looks like Captain America, you know,
Yeah.
before he became Captain.
Yeah.
young
Okay.
Steve Rogers.
And then he
Yeah.
plays
Serum.
slide
Yeah.
guitar.
And what
Yeah.
was and,
Yeah.
Oh, it was
He
for
picks up like a
Rocket
tire.
He even
Mortgage.
had a wig. Yep.
and what was it for?
I
was
never
for
remember
Rocket
what
Mortgage.
any
Rocket
ads are
Mortgage.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was for Rocket Mortgage. Yeah.
All right. So I don't need to watch it.
Yeah, you do.
And no, it's
okay.
great.
Yes, you definitely have
You
to
really
see it. It
definitely
was
should
really
see
good.
it.
Look, you had it.
And there was was it the Walmart one that had a
Okay.
bunch of
All
parody
the-
stuff?
That
in
was
there?
my
There's,
favorite.
the Bill and
That was
Ted
my
and
favorite.
the two.
That blew me away.
Yeah.
Besides
you
Sonic,
saw
of
you
course.
saw the Enterprise, you saw what looked like an X-wing or something, and then you saw like the ship from Guardians of the Galaxy. You saw,
Yeah.
and then just one after another, and then slowly you started seeing them land in front of Walmart for this curbside pickup that they do, and then finally at the very end you saw C-3PO and R2-D2 on some desert planet lost
Right.
while the
Yeah,
Walmart
and they
employees
had-
were
yeah, that
waiting
one
for them to
was
get
And
there.
they had young Bill from Bill and Ted and old
Yes.
Bill from Bill and Ted.
They had the Martians from Mars Attacks.
Oh my goodness.
Just about every spaceship you could think of.
Oh, and then
was great.
the Rocky Balboa was
I don't know
featured.
about that one.
Well,
no,
okay,
that was a different one, I think.
What?
Wasn't it? The
That wa-
Rocky?
Yeah, that was a different commercial. That wasn't the
No,
one.
no, no, no. That's not the same commercial. I'm just,
Oh,
I'm-
right.
It's about the
sorry.
rocks.
This was
or
an
something.
abrupt segue.
Yeah.
line of demarcation. Rocky Balboa.
Well, and then in here you have the Tide featuring Wonder Woman, but that was a series of commercials.
Yeah, also
Tide
with Charlie
commercials,
Day
yeah.
that just went through. He just kept popping up in other commercials, and they all ended up being Tide commercials.
By the way, it bothered me in that ad that he has a wife in the commercial who is not played by his wife in real life. Who's the waitress from Always Sunny.
He is married to her in real life.
Yeah.
I didn't
Like,
know
she's an
that.
actual very funny actress. And I was like, was she too busy to make a ton of money doing the Super Bowl ad?
They one of the Schitt's Creek fans. Is one of the actresses from that place.
So is that what she's from?
Yeah.
Because I was like, who
Yeah.
is this actress? I don't recognize her. And Bree watches Schitt's Creek, and then she was like, I don't know.
Schitt's Creek
Yeah,
is
she
great.
looked a little bit different. But
Josh, what about you? Did any of the commercials, and we're going to talk about Sonic in just a second, but
It
besides
was all
Sonic,
about Bill Murray for me. Because
Yeah?
when
Yeah.
it started, I was
yeah.
like, oh no. Because I didn't want it to be horrible, and then it was surprisingly great.
And it was-
And by the way, in the longer version, Ned Ryerson says Bing.
oh yeah,
Because I was mad he didn't say it. He didn't go Bing.
Yeah.
He says it in the longer version.
Nice.
We
And
also
then it
got-
turned out to be for a Jeep Gladiator,
Yeah.
the weirdest car on the
I
road.
know. We also got the next and probably final Black Widow commercial, which was really really good. A Quiet Place Part 2, the new James Bond, SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. That's a crazy name. The Minions commercial. What about Maisie Williams singing "Let It Go" in the Audi commercial? That was.
I just found that whole ad confusing.
I didn't know what it was about either.
It was strange, but like, we love Maisie Williams, and
Yeah.
most people love Frozen, so.
Okay, but how often do car commercials make sense?
I don't know. Matthew McConaughey.
Ask Lincoln and Matthew McConaughey.
I
is
know.
what I was
Those
about to
ads
say.
are amazing.
I love those ads. But let's talk about
Sonic.
the ad for Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sure.
Tell us about it a little bit. And you said you had a little bit of hand in that.
Yeah, just that they were already planning to do it. It was kind of a fast-moving train when they decided to do it, and then it was interesting to see the crazy turnaround because we heard what the idea was and how much time was left. In my mind, I was like, we're not gonna get all these athletes for it, and then it was just done mere days later, and we just suggested some jokes, and they used a few of them.
Nice.
Okay, you guys featured Michael Thomas, Christine McCaffrey, Allison Felix, and Kyle Busch. Did you choose those athletes?
Oh, I had nothing. That was already well in place by the time they.
Josh was like, bring me these
Yeah.
athletes.
And they're like, oh, we really want to get LeBron James. And I was just like, no!
He vetoed that one. So, but did you So, what parts did you guys write? How did you pull that all together?
Oh, I mean, it's not even much of a story. They already had it completely mapped out, and they just sent us what you would call a punch-up. They just sent us exactly what time they had for athletes to say things, and we're like, what if they said this list of 10 different things instead of that thing? And then for some of them, they picked one of our 10 different things.
That's pretty
Great
cool.
story.
It was really
Behind the
inspiring.
curtain, yeah.
That's a humble way of saying it never would have happened without you.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
All right, well, Derek, we need to make sure that Josh is who he says he is.
We
right?
do. So, Josh, we're starting a new segment today, and since we're going to be talking about Sonic, we're going to do a high-speed interview.
Oh,
now,
right.
on the Con Guy show, we can no longer shy away from the hard-hitting questions. So, Ryan, if you can set up a 2-minute timer for me.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you
warning.
a series of hard-hitting questions, and to make sure I get honest answers, you have to answer quickly.
Okay.
Okay, and if we can get through all of these...
We won't.
No, well, tell you what. If we at least set a new record for this segment, which should be easy since it's the first time we've done it.
All right.
If we do, then you win, and I declare you as my new best friend.
In the
Okay.
interest of speed, can I use one-word answers?
Absolutely.
That's preferable,
Okay,
actually.
all right.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So,
You are. The timer is
Yeah,
starting.
the timer is
in
set.
3,
Okay.
2, 1,
Go.
Josh, James Taylor or Jimmy Buffett?
Buffett.
Okay. Who would win, Arya Stark or Black Widow?
Black Widow.
Okay. Chuck Norris or Jack Bauer?
Chuck Norris.
Yes, good answer.
Yeah,
Okay.
nice.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Who's the best James Bond?
Sean Connery.
Ooh, PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
What is the answer to life, the universe, and everything?
What number? 42?
Oh, okay, good. I would have also accepted Jesus. Okay, briefs or boxers?
Boxers.
Okay.
Boxer briefs.
What is the 4th rule of Fight Club?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, good. Good
There
for
is
you.
none.
What's your favorite sitcom?
Simpsons.
Bowflex or Peloton?
Nordic Track.
Ooh, Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Lego or Mega Bloks?
Lego.
Good. Favorite movie?
Jaws.
Favorite vacation
Yes.
spot?
Idlewild.
Twizzlers or Red Vines?
Red Vines.
Yeah.
Favorite Star Wars?
The first one.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Best Harry Potter book?
4.
Best movie?
Oh, also 4.
Okay. Best video game movie after Sonic?
Oh, after Sonic, the first Mortal Kombat.
Ooh. Who's the best Starfleet captain?
Picard.
What's your favorite classic video game character?
Sonic.
Favorite Pokemon?
Jigglypuff.
Ooh, okay. Who is... Did I already ask you the best James
I
Bond?
want to change it to
did.
Snorlax.
All right, what is the best flavor of slushy from Sonic the fast food restaurant?
I've never been there.
Oh! That is all my questions.
I did it.
Yeah, Josh Miller, my new best friend!
Yes. He really is.
Wait,
Josh.
1
what
minute,
is- what
34
is the
seconds.
best slushy flavor? I've never
So we could have
been.
done 90 seconds.
Ocean water. It's coconut.
No, we're just gonna ask more questions next time.
We have to do a new on-site segment where we take the writers of Sonic the Hedgehog to a Sonic restaurant. I believe there's one in Alhambra.
Yes, there is.
There
That's
are
always
some
the
around
problem. I moved
somewhere.
to LA and they're constantly advertising for it, and I've never driven past
Yeah.
one.
One in LA County. There's one Sonic in all of LA
Why
County.
are there so many ads for it? Then?
Like, go to Sonic.
There's some in Orange County.
There's one in
Actually,
Rancho
I have a-
Cucamonga.
I said
Quick
LA
question.
County.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, Ryan.
This is actually related to Sonic. I heard the Sonic movie did a promo with Jack in the Box, and I'm
Yes.
curious why they didn't do one with Sonic, because it just seems like a no-brainer.
I don't know, but my guess is that Sonic is not nationwide. Somebody also asked me, why didn't they do Wiener Schnitzel so you can do chili dogs? I don't really like Wiener Schnitzel, so I'm glad they didn't. But for example, I'm from Minnesota. We don't have Wiener Schnitzel in
That's true.
Minnesota. So,
We didn't have it in Illinois either.
I don't think we have either of those in West Virginia. So
but I bet you have Jack in the Box.
no,
We do.
No,
All right.
not that I'm aware.
So, Derek,
my point has been ruined then.
So
we've got questions.
they need to just give you more creative control over everything.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't ask one of the writers what their marketing
I know, right?
food strategy should be.
So speaking of that, I'm curious, like something like this. Okay, it's an established property. It's a well-known character. You've got a studio behind it, and you've got probably lots of people weighing in. How much control did you have for the story and decisions you guys wanted to make?
I think it was kind of a descending order of control. Like when we started out, because I don't know a ton of the details. There'd been other versions of the movie they were trying to make that ultimately they didn't like and started over when me and my writing partner Pat Casey came on. And initially, us working with director Jeff Fowler, we had a lot of creative control. And then the further you get into it, all of a sudden lots of people start having different opinions.
Cool. So how did you get the writing gig? Did you have to pitch, or did someone contact you?
Oh yes,
or?
we had to do many many pitches. We are in what you would, or I like to call a bake-off, where there's a bunch of other writers and you don't know who any of them are, and no one will tell you. So it's all very mysterious. You just know that you are competing with other people for a job. Like with anything, you want to build a building. There's other contractors and stuff who come in. And you just pitch over and over and over again, and eventually they're like, "You got it."
So was there something you could tell us about your pitch that kind of made you stand out from the others that's not, spoiler, or something that you'd get in trouble for?
I don't know, because they didn't use what our initial pitch was.
It was just
But
your
as,
awesome personality.
as writers, that's kind of what you want, though, because we're like, well, you're the boss. We'll write the. We're not going to get hired and then be like, oh, we want you to put this in the movie. And we're like, no, I want to be fired. That's how much I care about this one story detail. But that's basically what happened. We did our pitch. And they hired Jeff Fowler and us kind of at the same time, and they just liked us. My theory is that we had not really done much family entertainment. We were known for doing kind of R-rated stuff, and they had just hired Tim Miller, who did Deadpool, and Tim works with Jeff. They both are at the company Blur, which is an animation company. They do lots of all the cutscenes from the Halo games and that kind of cool stuff. And I think at that time they were looking for a more PG-13. So I think maybe everyone was just excited about hiring all these R-rated guys to do a family movie. That's my only guess, because we were kind of surprised.
What was it hard for your R-rated sensibilities to translate to a family film?
Not really. I writing an actual family movie, the kind of gushy, schmaltzy kind. I think would have been hard, but. I don't know, I feel like writing stuff like this, because it's just like a superhero movie at the end of the day, wasn't that hard at all. And I like writing for I think there's kind of an honor in writing kids stuff, which I separate from family. I don't want to imply it's a kids movie. I think really anyone will like it, but just kind of in the mindset of what do kids like versus what is... Basically, what is a 12-year-old and their 40-year-old mom like, and that kind of thing is where you start to get into the Full House sort of mindset. No offense to Full House. I watched every episode of that show.
Well, and you also have this unique opportunity, whereas, I'm 35 years old, and I grew up, going over to my cousin's house. I had a Nintendo. My cousin had a Sega Genesis. And I'd go over there when, my mom would go over to have coffee with her sister for the afternoon and in the summer, and I was, 8 or 9 or however old I was, and I'd go in the back room and get on my cousin's Sega Genesis and play Sonic, or I think it might have been Sonic 2 at that point or something. And, that's such a unique opportunity for people of our kind of general generation to be able to say, hey, here's this property from when I was a kid, and now I can write a story about it all on my own. I mean, that's how... Did you play Sonic as a kid?
I played a lot of Sonic 2.
Okay.
Specifically,
Same.
because, especially at that time, usually 2-player games, like the Mario games, it was you'd play, and then you'd have to sit there and wait for your stupid friend to die as Luigi before you got to play again. Yeah. And the fact that Sonic 2 you could play at the same time, and if you were feeling really lazy, you could be Tails, because Tails was immortal and would just keep losing rings
around.
and then fluttering back in. Oh, there it is.
So what was your technique on playing? Because for me, I'd always just try to speed through. If I got a couple coins to keep me alive, I'd just keep going as fast
Luke,
as I could.
they're rings.
I said rings, right?
You said
I said coins. Sorry, I did not.
Hockey puck.
No, that's Mario. Sorry,
you.
the rings. But what was your technique going through? Did you try to collect everything or kill everybody, or just?
I played it so many times. I think I ended up kind of doing all of it. I would say normally, when I got Sonic Mania, the new game, which is great if no one's played it. It's the more recent. I think it was a couple years ago. Just done the retro 16-bit style, and then that one I was basically just gotta go fast. Let's see.
Lots of spinballs.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Was it kind of an emotional whiplash for you when all of a sudden Sonic and Mario started appearing in games together?
It was definitely weird because I was also the only person I knew growing up who, because I got a Genesis for Christmas, although I got it when it came with Altered Beast, not Sonic. Sonic hadn't come out yet. Because I like werewolves. Surprise, surprise, doing my werewolf celebration. So Altered Beast was one of my favorite arcade games just because a guy turns into a werewolf.
Right.
But Then I saved up all my lawn mowing and snow shoveling money to also buy myself a Super Nintendo. So I had both.
Nice.
But wait, what was the question?
The emotional whiplash of seeing Sonic and Mario together.
Right. No, so like to me, I was like, great, because like Sega stopped having consoles after the Dreamcast,
which is an underrated
That's true.
console. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Ahead
Soul
of its time.
Calibur, Power Stone. Yeah, sorry.
Well,
I
it
could
had
go
a
on.
microphone. You could talk with the game. It could learn things. It's thinking. That was the slogan.
but I like it. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So let's talk about the cast of the movie. Like, what was it like to have Jim Carrey, of all people, like
Well,
doing
that was the
lines that you
craziest
wrote?
part because aside from the fact that I grew up absolutely being obsessed with Jim Carrey, weirdly when he signed on, it was like the Robotnik character was I felt kind of stuck in a weird area because like we wanted him to be like a good villain, like you didn't want him to be too silly, and so it was kind of like hard to say who you would really cast for that part. And I don't know, he just like he has like that kind of great intensity, so he rides that nice line between obviously being he's like classic 90s Jim Carrey crazy in this movie. Which
Now,
is
did
exciting.
he improvise a lot in it, or did he kind of stick to the script that you wrote?
Well, he had an interesting thing where he would improvise kind of beforehand. Like he'd be like, I have ideas. Because basically they rehired us while they were in production specifically for the purpose largely of they being like, sometimes like an hour before they were shooting the scene, be like, Jim just had this idea. And then we'd like hustle down and like, write up a bunch of options, and he'd say some of them and then, you know, make up some more things.
Yeah.
Type it up on your
And
typewriters.
did you get to
Here
meet
you
him
go.
personally and have
Yeah,
much interaction?
we went up to, they shot it in Vancouver, and we went up and visited a couple times, and he was there one of the times, and it was weird.
So did it change?
It was weird.
So did it change the way you were writing the script? Like, did you change
Oh,
it to
for sure.
fit his voice? Yeah.
I guess that's where I was kind of going. When he came on, it was all of a sudden like, oh, that's what the character should be like.
That's
Like we
fantastic.
immediately got how we could ride the line of making him as funny as possible, but still be like a villain.
Nice.
And we are coming kind of to the end here. What about I heard about the random rubber band ball joke that you were super excited that you came up with.
Yeah, I saw this on your Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, it was that, you know, for writers out there, it's like you write something and then it's like weird when it gets made into a movie or whatever. Like it's just always weird to be like, oh, I wrote that. And they had to build that like room. But that was extra weird because when they sent us off to script, my writing partner was out of town for a funeral in Canada. And I was like, I guess I should probably start working on the script. And I wrote like 10 pages and they were all horrible. All unusable. We didn't use any of it, except there was just this one random joke where they're in the car and Sonic looks out the window and he's like, oh, the world's largest rubber band ball. Can we stop there? And they have a little back and forth about it. And somehow that stayed in every single draft and cut of the film and then became a focal point of the ad marketing campaign. Yeah. And I was just like, that one dumb joke from the first day I sat down in my underwear on the couch and wrote some nonsense.
Well, I know what I'm going to be thinking about when I see that movie now.
Everybody
Josh
think of
in his
me.
underwear.
Sorry, boxer briefs.
Boxer
We
briefs.
learned.
My question that I really want to know is how drunk did John Leguizamo get on this? Or is that the wrong video game movie that
That's
I'm
the
thinking
Super
of?
Mario Brothers
Oh, that's
movie.
the Super Mario
But
Brothers.
The one
to
with
answer
the
your
coins.
question, he was just constantly showing up drunk. And we're like, you are not in this, Mr. Leguizamo. And he's like, everybody.
Oh, there
And
you
James Marsden, you described him how?
As annoyingly nice. Because
Yes.
he's so handsome. You just want him to be
I know,
an
right?
asshole. So you can be like,
Could you
James
please
Marsden.
have a flaw?
Yeah, he seems real nice.
Shut up,
but-
Cyclops.
All right.
Those laser eyes.
Guys, we do have to kind of wrap up here. Does anyone have any burning
Yeah.
questions before we
couple-
stop?
I have a very important one.
Yes.
Sorry, Katie, you have one.
I was just
didn't want
gonna
to
ask,
step on you.
with video game movies, nostalgia is always like a very important factor with how fans feel about it. And do you think that they'll be satisfied?
I think so. Obviously, they were very upset about his initial design. But the funny thing is people being like, you know, oh, did it suck having to redo like the movie? And it's like, well, the movie didn't change. They just changed what he looked like. The movie still the same as it was a year ago, basically.
Did you have opinions about that when you first saw it?
Well, the funny thing is I don't even know what exactly happened because he had a design when they went into shooting the movie, and then by the time that the trailers were coming out, he didn't really look like he did before because obviously we're not privy to every single note that changed it. So I don't know if it was just too many people weighing in. I mean, I will say, and I agree with the original logic that they wanted him to look like a real thing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But you look at the new design. He's adorable. You can't go wrong with that.
And final question, unless anybody else has anything. Do you have one?
Sure
I have a couple things, but
We gotta be quick.
Ben's final question. Go.
My final question. I was going to say, playing around in this universe with Sonic the Hedgehog, you obviously probably juiced out some more ideas from this. If it were up to you, and the money came into the studio, and they said, "Hey, want to tap you for another Sonic? Is there anything that you could wet our whistle with as to what you might do in a sequel?"
I will only hint at we want to bring in some of the other characters.
Oh.
Yes.
The game.
That is exactly what I wanted you to say. Thank you.
Yes.
like, what were some of those characters from the game that you're a big fan of personally?
Well, Knuckles was always great.
Yes.
And of course, I have my affinity for Tails from just years of playing. But really, it's all about Knuckles love.
Knuckles love.
Knuckles love.
And we do at the end. Ryan, did you have a question you were wanting to ask?
Well, that's just about. I mean, I loved Ben's question so much. It would just be, if you ever do, what would be like a dream detail to include in a sequel, if there ever was one?
Well, I hope this is not a spoiler for anybody waiting, but I really want to get Jaleel White involved somehow.
Nice. Yes. He was in.
Do all the '90s throwbacks you can do.
Yeah, he was in a Super Bowl ad.
I was
going to
say
he was in the
Super
hummus
Bowl.
one.
Yes, he was in the hummus.
He was
ad.
like dipping and flexing.
Yeah, and flexing, looking buff. Still looking good, that Jaleel White.
There you go.
Now, what was that dog story? You said there's a dog character
Oh,
within
the
the
dog
movie
that
that
you
could
see
tell
in the
us about?
trailer. Another thing I was shocked stayed in the movie. Growing up, I had a golden retriever named Ozzy. And just one day we're like, let's put a golden retriever named Ozzy in the movie. And here he stays. Licking Sonic's face and being all cute.
That's
all right.
Yeah.
All right, Josh. Thank you so much for coming to the Con Guy Show tonight. Everybody go out and see Sonic the Hedgehog. It opens up on in 2 weeks.
On Valentine's
Day.
Day.
Yeah. Take your date, take yourself, just take the whole family to see. It's going to be a great movie.
You can take yourself on a date.
Take yourself on the date. That's
There
my
you
favorite.
go.
Self-love.
So like, anyways. So
I call it a master date.
All right. So
Oh, gosh.
Master
thank
dating.
you guys for watching.
Sign off.
Say-
Thank you
Sega
for
and
watching the
chill.
Con Guy Show. You can find me at Jim Frye LA. Where can we find everybody else?
Hey, I'm Derek. You can find me on Twitter at ConGuyDerek.
And I'm Katie. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at KT_Christine or on other shows on AfterBuzz, such as Batwoman.
And I'm Josh Miller. You can find me at Josh_S_Miller on Instagram. And despite what I just said, please do not jerk off while you're watching Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, jeez.
Unless you're Pee Wee Herman.
No.
It's still not okay.
Hey, everybody. My name is Ben Cleaver. You can find me on all social media at BenKliewer. Please tweet at me. Please at me. I want to get more involved on Twitter. And everybody asks me, why are you always drinking out of that red cup? Well, it's because whenever Ben Cleaver shows up, it's always a party.
And coconut water.
And coconut water. What?
And I'm Cheeseman on the Couch. You can find me on Twitter at CheeseOnCouch and on theconguy.com.
Thank you, everybody. And always remember, we appreciate you guys tuning into the show. And we'll be here same time next week. Bye-bye.
Woo!
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network. Views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.